Turn back to Capitol Hill now, where the Senate just wrapped up that hearing with members of the White House Coronavirus Task Force. Joining us now, a lawmaker who was in that hearing, Senator Mike Braun, Republican of Indiana. He serves on that Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. And Senator Braun, as I said, as your guys' hearing closed, this was a reminder. There's a lot of committees in Capitol Hill. This is a more highly functional one. You guys have less partisan edges than perhaps collectively. I'm not saying there wasn't partisanship. This is Washington. You had a very specific question about what you seem to point out as a lost period of time. Why did you choose to highlight that, sir?
Well, there's been so much discussion about testing, and I've been a proponent of it, and everything you just mentioned about the peculiarity of this virus, now to where there might be predispositions even among kids. Take it all seriously, but out of the gate, my staff put together an unbelievable timeline from January 24th through March 5th. And the reason I went that way is when I interviewed Dr. Hahn for the reasons on Health Committee that we were looking at how to make the healthcare system more agile, more nimble. Will you be entrepreneurial on that respect? And there we did have a month where the CDC didn't want the South Korean test, wanted to do our own. It stumbled, had to get rid of it. And it wasn't until March 5th that we really got the ball rolling. And one other thing, Chuck, I talked to some of the pharmaceutical CEOs, and he said from the moment they've had the genome, there's been more enthusiasm and entrepreneurial activity about getting not only a vaccine going, also therapies. So that's why I mentioned it. Not all the administration's fault. And you saw where Senator Burr said, has the administration ever put an impediment in front of testing? And I think Dr. Fauci said categorically no. So.
No, sadly, it's not an impediment. It's just, as you said, we just seem to have hurdles that we don't know how to clear, right? It's not an intentional impediment, but we seem to we got in the way of ourselves on this a little bit. Let me ask you one quick follow-up. Senator Alexander there towards the end, I felt like was essentially saying, there's a deadline here for you guys to meet on testing and contact tracing, and it is basically August 1st. It's when we can get kids safely back to campuses, whether college or secondary schools. Is that a fair way? Is that the deadline to put on this administration? Come on, guys. The plan for you in all 50 states has got to be testing and contact tracing so we can get kids on campus safely.
I don't know why the administration wouldn't be motivated to do that. And I think it's the totality of what we have here in the federal government. And I came in to try to reform some of that stuff, and we were really along the way for the normal health care issues. So I think it's good to throw that gauntlet out there, because you are right in the sense that until we get something happening on testing, vaccines, therapies, you can see some of the states that have reopened, business owners haven't even felt comfortable going back, let alone customers coming in. It's all intertwined. I don't like the fact that you try to blame one component of it. And I think throwing a gauntlet out to get this place moving more quickly is good in any case.
It's an even-numbered year. Blame game is always more important in an even-numbered year. Katy, you've got a question for Senator Braun.
That's always a good point. Senator Braun, your state is starting a phased reopening. I'm wondering, when you look at what to do and how to move forward, everyone wants to reopen their businesses. How much weight do you put on the health experts, and how much weight do you put on the economists that say, hey, listen, we need to get things going? Dr. Fauci today suggested that he's worried about if we reopen too quickly, that we're going to see an increase of cases and there'll be needless pain and suffering.
So I think the healthcare pros have to be relied upon, and we've done that from the time we've been tackling this till now. What makes it trickier now, and I come from the business world, the world of entrepreneurs, we are very close to where if we don't straddle, do both, we're going to have many issues that will cascade in terms of company bankruptcies, structural demand and supply destruction, and that is on the cusp. And the sad thing is we got to do both at once. We did it county by county back in Indiana. We need to do it state by state. We're going to have to take a little mitigated risk, or I'm afraid we could end up with the worst of both worlds in terms of the virus itself and the economy. And in talking to business owners, they know they have to stay disciplined on the new protocol. That's why I was glad our governor did it. And I think across the country, we use the laboratory of states to learn from it. And I want to err on the side of moving in that direction rather than a one-size-fits-all approach that we've taken up to this point.
Senator, has this made you rethink the social safety net in this country, the social contract we have? Do we need to rework how we go about our regular business?
I think so. And I'm one of the most outspoken critics of the structural deficits we've got. And probably 2/3 of that is driven by the programs everybody likes, Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid. We have to have an honest discussion. Can we keep those healthy? The Medicare Trust Fund gets completely depleted here in 6 years. I'm going to talk about that kind of stuff because you're right. This is just the catalyst, in my opinion, to kind of relook the whole way we've been doing things over the last few decades. And it's going to take some tough choices and some discipline to actually fix it. Very little political will I've seen here since I've been here.
And Senator, very quickly, the House is going to have their bill. How soon do you want the Senate to put up a response?
So the House bill, which is talking about maybe at least another couple trillion. And the one thing, and I know business owners are concerned about it, is that protection on specific issues arising from COVID-19. This is going to be more difficult because I'm nearly certain most Republicans are not going to think the price of liability protection is worth a couple trillion. That's my particular opinion, but we need to look at it. That's going to be the issue on our side. Maybe we can carve out something that's reasonable.
Senator Mike Braun, Republican from Indiana, thanks for coming on, sharing your views with us. It was a fascinating hearing to watch in such an unusual circumstance, that's for sure.
Thank
you.
Much
appreciate it.